You know that feeling when you take your car into the shop because it's making some kind of strange rattling
Oh
noise?
yeah, the worst feeling.
Right. And the mechanic comes out from the garage. He's like wiping his hands on a rag and he's holding this totally greasy piece of metal.
Never a good sign.
Never. And he just shakes his head and says, "Yeah, you're looking at a whole new transmission."
Right, and immediately your stomach just drops.
Exactly. Because right there, in the back of your mind, this little voice whispers, are they actually telling me the truth? Or, I mean, are they just trying to make their boat payments this month?
Which is so relatable because, you don't necessarily know enough about cars to actually argue the diagnostics with them,
Right.
but you definitely know enough about human nature to be, well, deeply suspicious.
Totally. And honestly, we are feeling that exact same suspicion basically every single time we turn on the news today or, scroll through our feeds or listen to literally any official statement from a major institution.
It's just constant.
It is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a newly released excerpt, actually published today, June 10th, 2026, by Eric Reinhardt.
Yeah, from his new book, The Currency of Trust, Evidence in an Era of Deception.
Right. And the specific chapter we're looking at is called Bring Receipts: How America Was Trained Not to Believe Anyone.
It's such a compelling read.
It really is. Our goal today is to kind of unpack that really uncomfortable feeling you might have that nobody in charge can be trusted anymore. And, we want to discover Reinhardt's actual framework for navigating this world of deception without just completely losing your mind.
Which I think we all need right now.
Mm.
Because what's so great about this piece is how he synthesizes all these different political, media, and psychological trends into this single cohesive diagnosis.
Yeah, he totally nails the modern media landscape. And he drops this incredibly provocative thesis right at the very beginning. He says that America didn't lose its trust by accident. It was, quote, stripped for parts.
Yeah, stripped for parts. That is such an intentional, heavy phrase.
It really paints a picture.
It does. Because, think about it. When a car is stripped for parts, it means the destruction of the whole thing is actually profitable for somebody.
Right. Someone's making money off the ruins.
Exactly. So the erosion of public faith wasn't just this, tragic byproduct of a chaotic digital world. Reinhardt is arguing that it's the result of functional machinery that actively benefits from a public that just can't distinguish truth from fiction anymore.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how trust was stripped for parts, we kind of have to look at the machinery that's actually doing the stripping.
A script, basically.
Yeah, Reinhardt calls it the script of every big story. Like, whenever a major event happens, whether it's a political scandal, a corporate disaster, whatever, the response isn't spontaneous at all.
Not even a little bit. It follows this incredibly predictable, highly choreographed routine.
So break that down for us. What is the anatomy of this news cycle, according to Reinhardt?
Well, it always begins with what he calls the mouth in a suit.
The mouth in a suit. I love that.
Right. It's so accurate. The very moment a crisis breaks, some official spokesperson is just dispatched to a podium. And they start speaking well before any actual verifiable facts exist.
Because they have to, right?
Yeah, their primary job in that moment isn't really to inform the public. It is purely to fill the vacuum.
Because if they don't fill the silence, somebody else is going to, and then the narrative just totally runs away from them.
Exactly. And there is a deeply rooted psychological mechanism at play here. It's called the anchoring effect.
Oh, right. Cognitive psychology.
Yeah. Psychologists have known for decades that the very first piece of information a human being receives about an event completely anchors their perception of it.
So everything else gets judged against that first thing they hear?
Precisely. Every subsequent piece of information is judged against that initial anchor. So for an institution in crisis, it is a strategic imperative to be the first one to speak.
Even if they're just like making things up.
Even if they're throwing out comforting platitudes or outright falsehoods, they are planting the anchor.
Wow. And so while the mouth in the suit is busy planting that anchor, the whole media machinery just kicks into high gear.
Immediately.
Cable news slaps on that giant glowing red breaking news banner. But, they don't bring on forensic accountants or nonpartisan experts to slowly and deliberately analyze what's going on.
No, of course not. They book the absolute loudest, most extreme partisans they can find.
Because clarity doesn't drive engagement. Right, conflict does.
Exactly. The media ecosystem thrives on heat, not light. Two people screaming at each other over an event that neither of them fully understands yet. That is incredibly compelling television.
It keeps you right there on the channel straight through the commercial break.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that provides the absolute perfect cover for what happens next in the script.
Right, because while everyone is totally distracted by these shouting matches on TV, off camera you have these anonymous senior
Yeah, the
officials.
classic senior officials.
Reinhardt points out how they start floating these trial balloons to the press to basically suit whatever the White House or the CEO needs at that exact moment.
Trial balloons are such a fascinating survival tactic. Basically, an anonymous official will leak a potential explanation or a proposed policy to a friendly journalist.
Completely off the record, naturally.
Completely. They do this to test the wind. If the public reacts with total outrage, the institution can just officially deny they ever even considered it.
Because the official's name was never actually attached to it.
Right. But if the idea somehow gains traction, then suddenly the institution adopts it as official policy. It is a brilliant way of shaping reality without taking on any actual risk.
Okay, so meanwhile, you have the people who actually do have the data. The Pentagon brass, the intelligence directors, people like that.
Yes, the ones who know what's really happening.
Right. But when they are pressed for actual details, they hide behind this very specific process language. Reinhardt highlights one phrase in particular. We are still assessing.
Oh, we are still assessing. It sounds so incredibly professional, doesn't it?
It does. It sounds diligent and responsible and like they're just being measured.
But functionally, in a modern public relations context, we are still assessing is nothing but a shield.
It's just a way to stall.
Totally. It is used to slow walk the release of absolutely anything that might embarrass the institution.
Yeah.
They will just keep assessing until the news cycle inevitably moves on to some new crisis.
And the ultimate result of all of this, the actual truth finally arrives like weeks later, late, half-dressed, and nobody is still watching.
Nobody at all.
It's like watching a magician where the misdirection isn't even hidden. The misdirection is being broadcast on every single channel.
Yeah.
But I have a question here. Does Reinhardt view this script as some kind of, coordinated, malicious conspiracy cooked up in a smoke-filled room? Or is it just the natural, chaotic defense mechanism of powerful people just trying to survive a 24-hour news cycle?
What's fascinating here is that Reinhardt makes a crucial point.
Yeah.
The intent actually does not matter.
Really, it doesn't matter if it's on purpose.
Not to the outcome. Whether it's deliberate twirling mustache malice or just deeply ingrained institutional habit born out of self-preservation, the effect on the public is exactly the same.
Which is a total erosion of faith.
Exactly. The public watches the mouth and the suit lie. They watch the media polish that lie for ratings. They watch the brass hide behind bureaucratic language. And they just quietly conclude that absolutely none of these people can be trusted.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if the institutions are constantly running this identical script, the next logical question is, how is the average person supposed to process this without just going completely crazy?
Well, the easy critique, the one you hear all the time from pundits, is that Americans have just become impossibly cynical. But Reinhardt actually defends the American public here.
He says people aren't stupid.
Right. He argues that this lack of trust isn't mere cynicism. It is pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition. I like that distinction.
Because to call it cynicism is to dismiss it as a moral failing of the public. Reinhardt emphasizes that people are just exhausted.
He says they're fighting their own private wars at 3 a.m.
Yes, they are working double shifts, they're juggling kids and aging parents. They are completely exhausted.
And because they are so tired, they simply do not have the bandwidth to act as like unpaid intel analysts. They can't spend hours decoding official statements that are probably just going to be changed 3 days later anyway.
Right. The human brain was not evolutionarily designed to process a constant 2047 barrage of global deception on top of everyday survival.
It takes actual calories to do that. It's like being handed a 50-page legal terms of service agreement every single time you just want to buy a coffee.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Eventually, you just stop reading, right? You just hit accept or you walk away. But wait, let me push back on Reinhardt's premise for a second. If we actually recognize the pattern of deception, shouldn't that make us better at finding the truth rather than just giving up?
You would think so, but exhaustion completely overrides analytical thinking.
Oh, okay.
When the mind is depleted, it seeks shortcuts to conserve energy. And that leads directly into Reinhardt's next major point. He argues that because the public is too exhausted to decode the truth, society fractures into two distinct, highly manageable camps.
Right. They adopt survival mechanisms. And according to Reinhardt, these exact survival mechanisms are exactly what those in power are actually hoping for.
Yes, it plays right into their hands.
Yeah,
So the first camp is what he calls the believers.
the believers.
Right. To survive the overwhelming flood of information, this group basically marries their chosen tribe.
Mm.
They pick a side, maybe a political party or a specific news network, and they outsource all their critical thinking to that entity.
They just believe only that. If their team says it, it's true. If the other team says it, it's a lie.
Exactly. It's a low-energy shortcut.
Right.
And then you have the second camp, which are the spectators.
Right. The spectators, they do the exact opposite. They divorce everybody and they believe absolutely nothing.
Yes. They look at the mess, throw their hands up, and just adopt a blanket policy of total disbelief. Every politician is corrupt. Every story is fake.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The people in that second camp, the spectators, they usually think they're being so rebellious, right? By trusting absolutely nothing, they think they're seeing through the matrix.
Oh, they definitely feel like they're the smartest people in the room.
But Reinhardt points out the brutal irony here. They're actually playing right into the establishment's hands. Both of these groups are incredibly easy to manage
So easy.
because a citizen who believes everything is just a believer, and one who believes nothing is just a spectator. Neither group threatens power.
Exactly. A citizen who believes everything provides blind consent. A citizen who believes nothing provides apathy.
So who does threaten power? Reinhardt says the only genuine threat to the establishment are people who insist on evidence.
Yes, if we connect this to the bigger picture, power relies entirely on a lack of friction.
Friction. Okay.
Right. To move initiatives forward or avoid accountability,
Ah.
institutions need things to slide smoothly. Believers grease the wheels, and spectators just step off the road entirely.
But evidence seekers introduce friction.
Exactly. They demand accountability, and accountability carries the inherent risk of exposure.
They demand that the machinery actually slow down.
Yes. A public that demands verifiable proof is a public that cannot be easily steered by a trial balloon or pacified by someone saying, "We are still assessing."
Okay, but this brings up a huge problem. If being a believer makes you a pawn and being a spectator makes you harmless, how do we actually become these evidence seekers Reinhardt talks about without burning out?
Right, because we just said nobody has the bandwidth.
Exactly. We don't have time to be intel analysts. So what's Reinhardt's solution?
His solution is a fundamental shift in the burden of proof, basically. Stop giving your belief away for free. Make them earn it.
Make them earn it.
Yes. He introduces this pre-flight checklist. It's 3 specific questions. He calls them the 3 M's that you need to run on every official line before you buy into it.
The 3 M's. Okay, let's break these down. What's the first M?
The first one is motive. Who needed to say this today?
Today. So it's about timing.
Exactly. Statements from powerful people are rarely spontaneous. When a story drops, you have to ask why right now. Are they trying to distract us from a massive failure yesterday?
Or build momentum for something tomorrow.
Right. Timing is everything.
Okay, so that's motive. What's the second M?
Means who has the megaphone to blast this into your head before anything else?
Who's controlling the distribution?
Right. Why is this specific narrative blanketing every single network while another story is just buried on page 12?
They're planting that anchor we talked about.
Exactly. And you have to question why that power is being used for this specific story.
Which brings us to the third M, which honestly feels like the most important one, margin.
Margin. Who walks away richer, safer, or more famous if you swallow this story?
Follow the benefit.
Always. If a politician pushes a narrative that conveniently allows them to consolidate power, or an agency gets a massive funding increase because of a crisis, the margin points right to them.
And we have to be clear here, Reinhardt puts a huge caveat on this. He explicitly states that this is not some both sides relativism.
No, not at all.
He's not saying every institution is equally bad. He acknowledges some actors are way worse and some people are genuinely trying to do their jobs. But his rule is absolutely nobody gets a blank check.
Right. Not the president, not the press, not the Pentagon.
And most importantly, not the political party you've been loyal to since childhood.
That is the hardest part for people. The 3 M's only work if you apply them impartially to everyone.
So what does this all mean? Think of your trust like a VIP club, right? The bouncer isn't just letting anyone in because they're wearing a nice suit or because they're shouting really loudly outside the velvet rope.
I love that.
They need to show ID.
They do. But this raises an important question. How do you practically apply these 3 M's when you're already exhausted?
Right, the bandwidth issue again.
Exactly. And the answer is, again, shifting the burden of proof.
Hmm.
You don't have to prove they're lying.
They have to prove they're telling the truth.
Yes, you just cross your arms and wait.
Mm.
If they can't answer for the motive, the means, and the margin, you just reject it.
It's like a mental spam filter. You don't analyze every junk email. You just set parameters and let the trash filter itself out.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
preserves your energy.
So to bring it all together for you listening at home, Reinhardt's ultimate bumper sticker rule is this. You don't owe anyone your faith just because they have a title, or because they shout first, or because their lie happens to perfectly match your team's colors. If they want your trust, they have to bring receipts.
And running the 3M's motive means margin isn't about becoming a paranoid cynic. It is simply about protecting your own mental energy and taking back control from a system that was literally designed to overwhelm you.
It really is about taking back control. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today, something that builds on Reinhardt's work. If a critical mass of people actually stop being believers and spectators,
Right.
and we all start demanding receipts for every single narrative, how will the institutions that rely on our blind faith or our total apathy adapt to survive?
That's the real question.
Will they actually become more transparent, or will they just start investing in better ways to forge the receipts? Keep that in mind the next time a mouth in a suit steps up to the podium.